Well, Dr. Brown, thank you very much for joining us today. Congratulations on your win for the Family Physician Researcher of the Year Award. Wonderful achievement. Thank you very much for finding the time to sit down to answer a few questions about family medicine research. We really appreciate it.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you.
So the first question that we'll start with is, you clearly enjoy family medicine research since you obviously are quite good at it. So the first question is, what do you find the most rewarding aspect of engaging in family medicine research?
I can't name one. I have to name three. The first probably is working with tremendous collaborators who are inspiring, who are intellectually stimulating. I've just been a great team to work with. And I've been given the opportunity to work with collaborators both locally and nationally, and just in different disciplines as well. So that's just, for me, sort of a really powerful part of being a family medicine researcher, is sort of the interdisciplinary nature of our research teams that we're developing and growing in Canada. The second point would be the opportunity I've had to mentor junior faculty and my students, and they have been absolutely a delight and very inspiring to work with. They're our next future generation of researchers in Canada, and for me that's just essential in terms of that we need to be there for them, we need to be supporting them and giving them opportunities to grow. So that to me has been a really pivotal part in my research experience. And finally, my participants in my studies. I mean, it's been a real honor to work with them, to listen to their stories, to bear witness to some of the challenges and as well as some of the triumphs that they've experienced. And I've learned so much from them, and I hope that I've given something back to them, given what they've given to me.
I'm sure that you have. It's interesting to hear you mention the first part, because family medicine by definition is such a collaborative discipline, yes. I think, and that's what we're finding now with the advent of many interprofessional practice types. So it's great to see that the same philosophy also permeates the research aspects of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. When would you say was the first research study that you've done?
Well, probably the first research study that I did was on family physician work and well-being, and that was my PhD dissertation. So I was working actually as a social worker in one of our family practice teaching units while I was getting my PhD in social work. And I was working with these residents, both men and women, and I was impressed by how did they do it. So we're back in the, I hate to say it, but in the 80s now. And it was sort of, and at that point, the ratio of women to men in family medicine was much smaller than it is today. The change is dramatic. So what struck me is, how do they manage this work-life balance? I mean, how are they a mother, a worker, a resident? How are they being a doctor? So that was really the springboard to the research question of how do they do it? So that was my beginning of sort of that theme of research in my career, which is carried through the entire time.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And yes, we do know that nowadays, I think every 2 in 3 entrance into the residency programs for family medicine are female, and it's great.
That's right.
Fantastic to see that.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot of experience. I mean, probably lots and lots of extremely useful research done in that time. So looking back at all this time, is there anything that you would do differently in the way that you've conducted your research career, and what that would be?
I probably would have done it sooner, become a researcher sooner, in terms of being a full-time researcher. So that didn't really happen until I got my PhD. But that being said, I think that the time that I spent sort of at the coalface in family medicine, teaching residents, seeing patients, and beginning to do some research, gave me tremendous credibility as a researcher. So, I mean, I knew what it was like to be faced with the challenges of challenging patients, of difficult residents, of finding that balance. So I think for me, it was worthwhile to have that time to really understand what is family medicine. An example being continuity. I mean, you can study continuity, but to live continuity is a different thing. And for me, as a social worker, working in the teaching unit and seeing patients coming back to see me as well, just really told me very much what continuity was about. So when I later on began to look at that as a research question and have an interest in that area, I understood really what it meant. It wasn't just some theoretical concept for me.
Thank you. That's very interesting, and definitely the practical experience that family doctors have really have a very unique way to position them to have a great, unique understanding in that. So, looking again back at the body of research that you've accumulated over these years, do you recall a particular finding that really surprised you? Something that you didn't expect to find?
It's not specifically a finding. It was maybe an outcome or to a study. So it was actually one of the early research studies that I did as a PhD, and it came out of community family practice. The family doctor said, why am I only identifying, if there are 1 in 8 women who are victims of domestic violence, why am I not identifying them in my family practice? So our research director said, we've got this new person on faculty who might have an interest in this topic. So here we were, a young clinician, a young researcher, looking at how can we improve family physicians' involvement in identifying women who are at risk of abuse. So we developed the women abuse screening tool through a variety of techniques. And we were a very small group, clinicians and researchers, with a very, very small budget. And ultimately, we created the women abuse screening tool, which was validated and found to be a reliable measure, and also had validity and acceptability by physicians, but also by patients, which was really important. So that my involvement in that was only for about a 10-year period. But during that time, we translated it into from English into French and also into Spanish. Today, 16 years later, actually 26 years from the onset of the actual study time, I still get emails, requests from clinicians, researchers, and teachers wanting to use the WAST, the Women Abuse Screening Tool, because it's got a global interest from multiple disciplines. And now it's been translated into Hebrew, Greek, Portuguese, Chinese, and the list goes on. So for me, that this had such a global impact of something that was so small and so community-based is just remarkable. And it means that for me that we all have a commitment to end violence against women, and that it just continues on and on. So was it a surprise? That was a surprise, and it just grew from this little kernel or this little acorn into this huge oak tree. So very, very exciting.
That is a phenomenal success story, and congratulations. And must feel so special, and something that you have created has such a global impact.
Yeah, it does.
That's fascinating. Yeah. And I'm glad that you picked a positive example for a surprise and not something like I was expecting this to work, but actually it was just nothing. So that's great. I'm sure.
Well, but I think even a negative outcome is important. I mean, I can't give you one right now off the top of my head, but I think negative outcomes or negative findings can tell us something equally as important that we can learn from.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I think as we are advancing all the different innovations in practice, it's equally as important to know conclusively that something doesn't work as well as it does. So we definitely hope that many of our family physician members will be able to conduct these studies so that they can conclusively say that, you know what, I don't do this because specific reasons as opposed to just. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm sure many of the younger researchers would aspire to one day emulate success such as the one that you had with this tool and with your other projects that clearly have won you an award. Very nice. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Do you have any advice for aspiring family medicine researchers to reach the heights, fulfill their potential?
You have to love it. You have to love doing research. It's also very important to find a good mentor. And I think we heard in our opening address today of Fire Day of the FMF that mentors are very important. And the mentors have a tremendous responsibility because we're going to build our young researchers to be the researchers of the future. And the capacity building is essential. I think also for a young researcher, not only find a good mentor, but find a team, find an interdisciplinary team. And for me, that's just been so important. And a team of people that you like, that you respect, that you can develop a common language with. And don't be afraid. Be inquisitive. Listen. Pay attention to everything that's around you. Because in every clinical encounter, as an example, there's a research question. So just being, I think, attuned to that. And one of my mentors, Martin Bass, that's really what he taught me was listen and observe and find the right research question and ask the right research question.
Thank you. That's fascinating. I really like how it ties very well with your first answers about what you find rewarding about doing research. And that's the advice that you have for future researchers. Any particular practical advice on how to get these mentorship relationships going? How to find a mentor?
I think you have to position yourself in a research environment, and in an environment that is supportive of research and doing research. And also, maybe one mentor isn't going to be the oftentimes you have multiple mentors for different areas of interest or different methodologies. So you may seek out a mentor who can help you with qualitative research, or you may seek out a mentor who can help you with some thorny statistical issue that you're having. So I think having multiple mentors is important. People will argue that then you're getting conflicting ideas, but I think that if you're open and willing to learn and have some sense of your own pathway, but can draw on those mentors for those various things, that can be a tremendous an opportunity.
Nice. So it comes back once again to keeping your eyes open, it seems.
It does.
That's great. These are fascinating insights. And I guess the last question that I have is to really wrap this up with a final thought. But why would you say family medicine research? Why is it important?
Oh, it's important for so many reasons. But I think one of the things right now is family medicine in Canada, we're very fortunate, is a mature discipline. And it's now our responsibility to be creating our own research and creating research evidence that supports the work that family doctors do every day. So no longer are we consumers of evidence. We need to be creators of the evidence, creators of knowledge. And I think that's where family medicine is today, and where family medicine research needs to be today, and where I think it's going. I mean, I feel very positive about it. I think that we've created some very rigorous research methodologies. I think that we have made a place for ourselves, that we're at the table now, and we have the power to influence funders and decision makers, whether they're policy makers or whether they're hospital administrators. But I think we have to have the research evidence to get us at that table and to give us that powerful voice.
Thank you very much. Inspiring words, and no doubt that this is due to some of the work that you and other pioneers like you have done, that family medicine research has such a valued position currently. Hopefully, these words will inspire many of the future quality researchers. Congratulations once again on your award, and thank you so much for finding the time to speak with us.
Thank you very much.